Gallery MoMA is a contemporary African art gallery, and we represent multiple artists from South Africa and across the continent and the diaspora. So for the Rmb Latitudes Art Fair, we did a selection of a couple of artists. In this instance, 7 artists that we work with, local and some from the African continent. And art is something that one cannot necessarily replicate. Even the reproduction on screen does not do it any justice, and it's great to be back at a physical fair where people can actually engage with the pieces face to face, because everyone has a different experience, with artwork, and it's something that, during the pandemic era, people weren't able to actually experience in real life. And it is one of those things I think will still remain and forever be key, to whether the sales or promoting the careers of young artists, to have physical fairs and to actually have people engage with the artwork in a personal manner. And so it's been great to be part of the Rmb Latitudes Art Fair. Coincidentally, with the selection that we presented here at Rmb, because it is a mix of things, so there wasn't one curatorial narrative that we're following, but looking at the pieces and how they came together, a lot of it looked at what in self-introspection, looking at the work of Jonathan Fremantle and Vivian Kohler, and then also in response to some sculptures that we have by Babu Jackson Hlongwane and Duran Sitlali. So a lot of it had a very sort of spiritual message behind them of who we are, and art as a medium of storytelling, and we continue to tell the stories of our people and where we are and where we've been and where we hope to be in the future.
My name is Mateo Mamabulo. I am a writer, curator, and filmmaker, and welcome to Index. Index is an independent platform paying homage to the relationship that Latitudes Online has with independent artists. And all the artists that are in this space are not represented by galleries. So I'm going to take you to see my favorite one, which is by Thembinkosi Hlwatswayo. Thembinkosi is a photographer who is a part of the Market Theatre Photo Workshop, and he processes his trauma through his photography. And in this particular artwork, this is from the series called Slages, and here he is processing the trauma of where he grew up as a child. Growing up in a space such as a tavern can obviously have, some implications on your childhood. It is kind of a different childhood to what other people are growing up as, and so he would experience moments where he would hear people passing on in the tavern. So these moments that he captures kind of speak to the traumatic memories that we have, snapshots and snippets of images and memories of things that we cannot necessarily put together, feeling like pieces. And so in this artwork that you see here called Untitled 2 from 2019, this is a very, very jarring image for me, but it's very, very capturing in that it feels like a missing puzzle piece to an entire story. And I think what's beautiful about Thembinkosi is his ability to process and also really explain and capture, memories and trauma, but also make them incredibly beautiful and incredibly relatable.
I just think that specifically in the context of Johannesburg, we exist in tensions of busyness. We're constantly engaged in some noise and practice, and things are so fast in Johannesburg that it's really important to have an experience like this, especially this indoor-outdoor experience, which brings us all together to recognize beauty. I worked with this stuff for quite some time, and I've only ever seen the photos of it, but to come into the space and see the work, it has a different affect on you. So if I can speak about one artist in particular, there's about 40 artists involved in Index who are all fantastic, but I've had the pleasure of speaking to Talia Goldsmith, one of our more seasoned, mature artists, and these works she created, Sisyphus, they speak to the absurdity of life and how if one doesn't find the joy and laughter in the absurd, then you are truly cursed. And I just think that's an important message forever. Yeah.
got a passion for art. I'm a new collector. So the two pieces behind you, Timba Kumalo, I'm a big fan of his. Love his work, that sort of bringing the kind of rain in, which I see as a symbol of hope. And you look at the ground and it's quite dark and brown, you know, almost like it's arid land. So the contrast between the two is quite interesting for me. And then there's an artist I'd never heard of before, Michael Selekane. Love his work, discovered him today. He's got a lovely piece of these ladies, kind of church ladies, almost looking over the horizon, like as a sign of hope as well, you know. So those are the two that have sort of stood out for me, that I'll do a bit more work on and hopefully invest in a few pieces of my own. The artists I've bought so far are sort of, they're black male artists, and they do a lot of images of children and women specifically. And when you drill down into it, it's like sort of mother-headed households, absent fathers, migrant labor, which is something that I can relate to, and that really speaks to me. So to answer your question, for me, it speaks of the stories, often the struggles of the artists. And when I can relate to some of those struggles, I think it's something that resonates with me.